Welcome, everyone. We're so excited that you're joining us tonight for our first Playground webinar series for the 2018-19 school year. Very excited for our webinar geared for new coaches tonight. So just a couple of things before we get started that I want to go over. First and foremost, this is your Edtech Coaches PLN leadership team. So all of our Twitter handles are up there. We really try to make this PLN about you and give you opportunities that you want to see. So we would love to hear from you guys at any time. Feel free to reach out to us. Let us know what you want to see, what do you want more of, what do you want less of, what kinds of opportunities do you need as a coach, and we will do our very best to make that happen for you. And my name is Katie Seamer, so I'm on there as well. Ooh, there we go. So here is all of our social media where you can connect with ISTE's Edtech coaches. So the most important one is that PLN homepage, which I'm going to go over in just a second to make sure that you are an official member of the PLN. That's where you'll get all of our information. That's where you should be receiving, if you're an official member, you'll get our monthly newsletter. That's where you can access the recordings and links to any webinars that we do, including tonight. So there's all kinds of stuff that you can access in that PLN homepage, including our discussion board, which we have a very, very active PLN of about 5,000 members, and they are very active in that discussion board area. So I do just want to take a second and encourage you, if you have a question about your role as a coach, or you're looking for feedback or ideas, feel free to use that discussion board area on that PLN homepage and throw out an idea or respond to someone with an idea as well. We're also on Twitter. We have a very active Twitter community. Our official hashtag is @EdTechCoaches, and then our hashtag is ETCoaches. So please feel free to share what you're learning tonight on Twitter using our hashtag and connect with us all year long and every day using our hashtag on Twitter. We also have a Google Plus group, a Voxer group. If you're interested in joining the Voxer group, please contact Lisa Hervey and she will add you to our Voxer group. And then we also have a Remind group, which you can join. And the Remind group, we really only send reminders about our monthly Twitter chats, which are the last Tuesday of every month at 1 and 8 p.m. Eastern. And I will share all of those links in the chat in just a minute once I'm finished with the introduction. But if you are joining us, please feel free to use the chat to the right of the video and introduce yourself, who you are, what your role is, and where you're coming from. And please feel free in that chat to ask your questions throughout the entire webinar. I'll be collecting the questions, and then I can ask our presenters at the end. So share any questions that you have over in that chat area. But as I mentioned, that PLN, the ISTE homepage is in ISTE Connects. So it's a little bit different. They revamped it over the summer. So to make sure that you're an official member of the Edtech Coaches PLN, you do have to be a member of ISTE, but then joining any PLN is free with your ISTE membership. So to get to the PLN areas now, you go to community.iste.org. And then you can click Join a PLN, which will be in the middle of your screen. And you just want to make sure that the Edtech Coaches Network is selected and it has a little checkbox next to it. Then when you go to your PLNs, which you'll see my PLNs listed on that homepage area, this is where you'll find access to the discussion board that I mentioned. This is where you'll find access. The library tab is where we post all of our resources, our links to our webinar recordings. Anything that we have going on, we really house in this ISTE Connects area. So definitely make sure if you are a member of ISTE, joining PLNs is a perk of that membership, and it's definitely what really makes ISTE such a great organization for so many people. So like I said, the Edtech Coaches PLN has about 5,000 members. So a lot of times coaches can feel like they're in a silo working on their own without any other coach in their building or district. So this is a wonderful place to go to connect with an amazing group of educators and fellow coaches and aspiring coaches to share ideas, connect, and network. Throughout the year, we do a number of things. We're a very active PLN. Like I mentioned, we have monthly Twitter chats that are held on the last Tuesday of every month at 1 p.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern. We use that hashtag #ETCoaches. It's the same chat. It just happens at 2 different times. We're trying to accommodate a bunch of different time zones and different work schedules. So we have people who participate from multiple countries. So we're just trying to accommodate people. So same chat, just 2 different times. We do a book study every year. It usually starts around January, February. And so be on the lookout for that. Sign up around November or December, and you can participate in our book study with us. We do it slow chat style, where there's 1 question posted a day on Twitter, and you respond on Twitter, again, using the hashtag #ETCoaches. This webinar that's coming to you tonight is a part of our Playground webinar series. So at ISTE's annual conference every year, we host a playground, which are a bunch of mini poster sessions, essentially. And we take the most popular, engaging sessions, and we ask those presenters to present a short and sweet webinar, about 30 minutes, to our members throughout the year. So if you don't get a chance to make it to the conference, or even if you do attend the conference, it's very busy, so you don't always get a chance to make it to everything. It's our little way to extend that conference throughout the entire year. And then just a couple other things we do. We do blogging buddies. So if you maintain a blog as a coach, you can sign up for blogging buddies, and we will pair you with 4 other coaches so that you can commit to blogging once per month and then commenting on your 4 other group members' blogs once per month. So it's just another way to connect EdTech coaches with one another. We offer a local conference meetup kit. So if you would like to take and present at your local state conferences for EdTech coaches to connect with one another regionally, you can apply to use our conference meetup kit, and we've essentially got a proposal written for you and all of the slides and everything you would need to run a session at a conference. And then we also host ISTE standards refresh events when ISTE is refreshing any standards. We do a couple other odds and ends throughout the year, but those are really the main things that we do as a PLN. So hopefully if you're a member of ISTE, you will get involved with us. Like I mentioned before, this webinar tonight is a part of our Playground webinar series. So as you see on the screen now, these are all the webinars that will be happening throughout the year. They are all at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can register for any additional webinar at bit.ly/ISTE webinars. And tonight, I'm very, very excited. These ladies presented with us last year. They're very energetic. And we have things your mama never told you about being a technology coach. So just a couple of things. We have Jakki Wiseman and Nikki Goode who are presenting your webinar tonight. Jakki has been a classroom teacher for 23 years. She has taught 4th, 5th, 6th, and grades 8 in schools in 3 different states. She's been a technology coach for 4 years at a Title I school. Jakki now works for the State Department of Education with all the literacy specialists and the reading coaches in the state. She's a proud Air Force wife, mom of 2 great kids, diehard Clemson fan, and completely addicted to Pinterest and blogging. And Nikki is in her 17th year of public education and 5th year as a technology coach. She works in a K-5 school, and she has a 13-year-old and an 8-year-old, and her hobbies include photography, painting, and technology. And so without further ado, I would like to turn it over to these 2 wonderful ladies to talk to you about things your mama never told you.
Whoopsie. Okay. Is my screen up there?
It is, yes.
It is? Okay. I just can't see it.
Yep.
All right. So, hi everyone. I'm Jakki Wiseman, and with me today we have...
I'm Nikki Goode.
I'm sitting in my bedroom and she's in her car at the end of her driveway so we could get good connectivity. So these are the things we have to do. But anyway, we presented on this in Chicago, and we've also presented this at our state technology conference, SC Edtech. And we, as you can see, I recently changed jobs, but before that, we were both technology coaches in the same district. And we were very lucky. The district where I used to work and Nikki currently works, there's one of us in every school, which is great because you have a lot of support, but still being a technology coach is, like you said, kind of a position where like you're working in a silo, because if you're lucky that there's only one of you at a school, you don't have somebody else you can go to right away and talk to. Nikki, you're being really quiet. Say something.
I'm sorry, I'm holding my phone up. There we go. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Yes, and as we like to share all the time that I am an early childhood education teacher. Jakki was the elementary, so we like to hit on both of our strengths and combine them in each of our sessions that we share.
Okay, so for our first slide, I'm going to read these because Nikki can't see them. It says, if you have a plug, then yo, I'll solve it. She came up with that one. Anyway, basically what we wanted to start with was define your role and goals early with facts, but humor. No teacher likes to be talked to like, this is what you will do, this is what you won't do. I mean, that's not going to make many friends with your building. So we kind of, like we said, we've used Kahoot. You can see in our presentation, we use lots of memes. So we're humorous about it, but I used to have one that, no, I do not work for Geek Squad. That was a graphic I used to put up. And but yes, we're here to help you, but we can't do everything.
One thing that I think Jakki and I both learned quickly as we came into this role at the same time, there was a revamp of our job description. So for the teachers who were in the district prior to our job changing, they still had us to fit the mold of what the old tech coach was. So when we came in, we were coming in under a new job description, new role, new task ahead of us. And so we had to try to break free of what they thought we were or what we once were supposed to be, and then reintroduce ourselves with our current roles. So you kind of have to walk on eggshells a little bit because you have people that were used to things that were done a certain way before. So you want to ease them in to the transition of whatever your job is. And like Jakki was saying before, use humor, use memes, whatever you need to do. And never go about it saying, well, that's not my job, but, or saying, you kind of redirect them. Let me get you in touch with the person who is in charge of, or let me see who else I can find that can help you with that. Because we have found that if it has a power switch or an electrical plug, they are assuming that that is your position. So whatever your job covers, make sure that you relay that to them at the beginning of the year. And just like with kids, you revisit those job descriptions and the points of what you're supposed to cover throughout the school year.
And actually, yes, because when we came in, we were changing from being, I think it was TIS's Technology Integration Specialist to TLC, Technology and Learning Coach, with the emphasis moving to more coaching than repairing technology. And one thing actually my office staff did my last year I was there was they actually made this flyer where it listed who was in charge of what. And it kind of helped clear up some of the misconceptions, like I could help with the printers, but the copiers weren't under my purvey. If it was Power School or if it was report cards, you had to go to the school data coordinator. So especially for people who were new in the building, it helped them understand who to go to for things. So I think sometimes that really helps, especially I had a large turnover at the school where I work, so I always had lots of new people. It kind of helped point them in the right direction too. All right, next slide. Relationships are greater than skills and knowledge. And on this slide, we also have a picture of a book that we used the first year that we became coaches that we thought was really good, and we would strongly suggest it's worth getting. they've got to understand that you're there to help them and support them. And I have to say, even though I've changed positions, I still do a lot of coaching. And right now, because I'm new, I'm still in the relationship building stage. And I think teachers are intimidated when people want to come in their room. And I think the first misconception you need to get out of their heads is you're not there to evaluate them, and you're not there to go narc on them if you see them doing something not perfectly correctly.
Mhm. I like to meet with our teachers as a grade level. Um, like we were saying before, I'm in a K-5 school, so I like to, to meet with all of them ahead of time, sort of just introduce yourself, get to know who you are as a person. I know a lot of people like to keep work life completely separate from your personal life, but that's kind of hard to do in an educational setting. Like
Mhm.
you want to know their personality styles, how they approach teaching, what their philosophies of education is, whatever it is, let them speak and you do the listening. And that was one thing that I struggled with,
Yep.
um, was sitting back, keeping my mouth closed, and letting them share about who they are and taking baby steps, because you, as a teacher, is they're kind of queen or king of the castle. That's their domain. And you don't want to step in, like Jakki was saying, and take over. You want to build that relationship, know that you are there for resources, and however they see fit to use you at first, as long as it's in your realm of job duties, do it. Allow them to take the first steps, and allow them to see that just a little bit and a little bit over a little bit can actually change a whole classroom.
And one thing I think that helped me build relationships, like I said, we were both at K-5 schools, is I was very open and honest with my K-1 and 2 teachers and let them know, look, all my experiences in upper elementary grades, I've never taught your grade level. I'm not going to act like I know what to do. And I actually took a lot of time on my own to learn their standards, and actually would go in and watch them teach, like math. My kids are 20 and 23, so I didn't know about a 10 frame. And so I literally went and said, could you tell me what this is and why you use it? So I let them share what they knew with me. And I think it helped them realize that I was genuinely wanting to help them. And I didn't come from a place of, I hate to say it this way, but like the know it all. You don't know everything. And I think sometimes admitting that and saying you want to learn more about it so you can help them really helped level the playing field and made them realize you were coming from a place of wanting to help them.
Team teaching, I think, also
Yes.
helps to build those relationships. Getting in there with the teacher, being a second set of hands, even if it doesn't always involve technology, building the relationships with the students as well as the teacher, I think, opens the door and allows you to come in more often than not.
Yeah, I like that one too. All right, next slide. This is loading. It doesn't happen overnight. And I can really speak to this because in the 4 years I was at my school, it probably took till year 3 for one first grade teacher to actually come and ask me questions and let me work in her room. And I mean, the first 2 years I was stopping by going, hey, do you need anything? How are you doing? Do you need help with anything? No, I'm good. And she would occasionally email me, but it took till year 3 before she booked me, which we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes, and actually said, could you come work with my kids and teach them this skill? And
Yeah.
so it's hard, but you've got to be patient.
Um, and I think with this one, and I actually took this idea or borrowed it rather from Jakki, was having a technology plan with your teachers, inviting them to pick one area in which they would like to integrate technology, or have a personal goal of you, learning how to use their Google Calendar in a way that could serve as serving as lesson plans, or the task feature of Google Calendar. L- Any little thing, like, but allowing the teacher to set a technology goal so that they can take that, work on it, accomplish that goal, feel a bit of success when it comes to technology before they take a bigger step to set another goal. Technology changes so quickly. So having them focus on one area before they bite off and jump into another, I think is key. So letting them feel that and taste that bit of success before jumping off into a deeper piece of technology integration.
Yep, I agree. And then also, I think if you can get at least one person on each grade level to be willing to work with you and buy in, it has what I used to like to call the ripple effect. I can remember in my school was 1-to-1 K through 5 with devices, and first grade started using Google Slides to do animal research. And the first year, I only had 2 teachers do it. Well, the next year, then 2 more wanted to do it. By my last year, the whole grade level did it. And it just took time, and they got to see how much those kids enjoyed it, and the teachers shared their projects, and the parents commented on them because they shared them. So I think sometimes getting one person, like I said, on a grade level, and then giving it time to grow because they'll share with their peers what they're doing and if it's successful, especially.
Mhm.
All right, next slide. I love this one.
Hmm.
You do not know everything, and you don't have to. One of my favorite things was a teacher would stop me in the hallway. There's this really cool website, but I bet you've already seen it. And I'd be like, no, I can't spend 24 hours a day online, and there's always so much new stuff. Please share because I may not know about it. And more than half of the time, I hadn't heard about it. And that kind of goes back to building the relationship, because I would then share it with the rest of the faculty through, I used to do a weekly newsletter, and also I had Megabyte Monday meetings with each grade level, but I would make sure to give credit to the teacher who had shared it with me to kind of show, look, this goes both ways. I share ideas with you, but you can also share them with me. And yes, Google is the best thing ever invented.
I think that once you as a coach come to terms with that you do not know everything, I think it takes a load off of your shoulders.
Mhm.
Um, because I think my first year as a technology coach, I thought that I was supposed to know everything. And I knew ways to integrate it, but then with our job, I didn't know a lot about our work order system or the names of all these plugs. I was like, the one that has the little teeth on it, but then it looks like a flash drive on the end. I didn't know the terms of USB and HDMI and VGAs. That was so far beyond me, and I felt a little intimidated to even ask for help until I realized that no one is expected to know everything, that every day is a learning experience. Um, don't be afraid to step out and ask questions. And that also goes over to your teachers. Let them know, you know, I don't know everything. Every day I'm learning. I fail, but I fail forward.
That's a good one. And one thing I used to like to tell them is, no, I don't know, but I bet I know the person. I can go ask them, find that out for you.
Yep.
That used to be one of my favorite responses was, no, but I'll find out and I'll get back to you, or I'll get somebody to contact you that can help you with that. So the teacher didn't feel like you just left them hanging, it gave them a response, but then gave you time to go figure it out, or literally one time step out in the hallway and Google it on my phone and step back in there. I think we've done all those things.
Yes. And I think it also empowers the students when you let a child know, no, I do not know, you know, the lifespan of a dinosaur. I do not know how fast the car can go, but we can find out together. Put the power and the knowledge back on the child. Teach them how to Google, teach them the different tools, or teach them just along with the teacher. So you're putting the power and in the responsibility in the child's hand or in the teacher's hands, and taking the responsibility off of your
I
plate.
That's a really good one. And then I think you hit on something really important there, Nikki, is when a kid does know how to do it, if they can teach it to somebody else, how powerful a moment that can be.
Hmm.
VoiceThread, I did not have time to show, I think it was one of my APs, how to use VoiceThread, but I told her, I said, well, I've taught it to 5th grade. I bet one of them could show you. Well, she actually pulled a 5th grader into her office, and this girl was very good with technology. She actually took a couple of pictures of her teaching her how to do VoiceThread. That girl walked on water for like the next month because she had taught the assistant principal how to use VoiceThread. So I think sometimes giving the kids a chance to teach you something can be very powerful too.
Yes.
All right, next slide. The island is not tropical. Build your PLN. And like I
Whew.
said, we're lucky. Well, we were lucky that there was one of us at every school. Let me tell you, email and text groups, they were powerful to get questions. And then we also got to meet at least once a month in person. But I know that's not the situation for everybody. But this is when you use the technology to your advantage because, yes, belong to those communities, get ideas from other people, share. It's a great way to find things out.
This is another one that I will have to admit that I struggled with, and there are still days that I struggle with it. There are, I think we have 21 elementary schools in the district, and some of us are maybe 2 miles apart. However, it sometimes feel like you are so very far apart. Teachers, I hate to say it, will view you as not one of them anymore.
Mm,
Um, and administrators don't quite see you as one of them because that's not your role. So you're sometimes left out there on your own. And it could be a very, very lonely place. So I highly encourage you to build your PLN. Twitter was one thing I was very reluctant to get into. But then as I learned to follow a couple of different people that I read about or my friends would tell me about, Jakki blogs often. So she was like, you've got to, you know, follow this person or this person. I love following hashtags. I use TweetDeck often so I can have a lot of columns up on whatever it is that I'm focusing on or I'm wanting to share with my teachers. Um, and it really helps. Having those Google communities, the ISTE network, those coaches network has really helped.
mhm.
Jakki can also testify. It is a very big fangirl moment when you see some of these people in real life that
Yes.
you follow. Um, we get kind of giddy with certain things like that, but just jot down a couple of people that you find interesting, jot down a couple of hashtags, and just check in on them like maybe once or twice a week and to start building those people in, meet at Starbucks or do a Google Hangout. This was one of the things that we did all the time. We couldn't get across the district to see one
Yeah.
another to meet. We would ring each other through Google Hangouts, leave someone up on a computer screen, walk through a spreadsheet, and then oh, was that me?
No, it was me. Sorry.
Okay, I apologize. Um, but you're able to have um, as close to a face-to-face interaction meeting, but then you can click them off, turn them off, get right back into what you were doing. But you've had that conversation. Take time to take a lunch away from your computer and speak to people, whether it's the students, it's the teacher, the school nurse, the occupational therapist, whoever it is, talk to someone, a face
Mhm.
during your lunchtime. Step away from the computer and build those relationships.
I used to go hide in the preschool room so nobody knew where I was because it was their nap time. The lights were out and I could actually eat. And one of my best friends was the preschool teacher, but that's just what I used to do. And then another, I'd say, benefit from building your PLN, we had talked about writing, technology goals with the teachers. Well, I would have, of course, I knew them. And so when I came across something that I thought went with what a teacher was working on or towards their goal, I would forward it to them. And sometimes some people, all they need is a link and they can go with it. Sometimes you send them a link and like, book me and we can talk about this later. And then sometimes you don't hear anything till one time I sent something one year and the lady didn't pull it up until she didn't want to use it until the following year. But just, take that information, help for yourself, and then also point it and share it in the right directions to other people who could use it too. And it's nicer because some days you just feel like Nikki hit it on the head. The teachers don't feel like you're one of them anymore. The admin, you're not one of them. So you are kind of a little bit in a no man's land sometimes.
Hmm. I like it's kind of like being what is it? A team of one.
Yes.
That's sometimes what it's like, and I talk to myself a lot.
And she sings to herself a lot too.
I do. I do.
All right. Now we're talking about there's only one you and sometimes how to organize your time. People, I swear, in the hallway, well, when you have a minute, could you? And I'd be like, sure, book me. And
Hmm.
as you can see, it was in our signature line of our email, and it's a free app. website, and it ties into your Google Calendar. And it's a great way also to turn around and show the people in charge what you're doing with your time, because you can see, look, on this day, these teachers booked me to work with them. And then my big thing was, if you book me, I will come. I was always very adamant of being on time, because I know how, from being a classroom teacher for so long myself, somebody said they come and then you've got the kids sitting there. No, I was normally 2 minutes ahead of time outside the door waiting to come in on time, because I valued their time and kind of got the reputation was, she'll come if you book her.
One thing that I learned very quick, like with using BookMe, it was one of my favorite things. It held me accountable. It was, like Jakki said, something that I could show my administrators. Um, I could also share the teachers, like, this is how you use it. This is what it looks like on my end. It links directly with your Gmail and your Google Calendar. But what I learned is to put very specific questions um, in with my book me form. At first, the teachers, all they were required to enter was their email address, um, and then it was a very broad, what are we working on? Well, I soon found out that I would go in their room and they're looking at me, ready for me to take on a full on lesson when I had not a clue what we were focusing on. So I would quickly learned that either I'm going to wing a technology lesson with a bunch of children, or I can be specific and intentional with the questions that I put in my book me. So now they put in their email, they put in what standard or objective they would like to focus on, how they would like to integrate technology. It doesn't have to be, I want to use it and this app to do this, this, and this, but it's kind of like we're working on studying third grade battles and battlefields for the Civil War. And I only know that because I had to do that last year. But then the next part is, what are your expectations for the
Mm.
children at the end of our lesson? So, do you want them to be able to identify um, the geographic location? Do you
Absolutely.
want them to compare and contrast certain things? So that way, when I'm looking at pulling resources, I can say, okay, well, Padlet will be a better way for them to have, like, to express their thoughts, but be able to comment and communicate back and forth. Or maybe they could use Google Slides and pull in images on Google Maps, maybe plot somewhere some battle. So I had a better idea of what they were expecting of their students and what tools and resources would better suit their lesson, instead of me going in and flying off the hip. So being specific and intentional with your book me form.
I like that, because I think it touches on something else. Is we were not there to teach programs. We were there to help them teach content, standards, and infuse it with technology, or let technology, help them teach it. So that was a big thing I always did when I worked with teachers, was what's the standard first. I'm not just going to come in and teach, like you said, Padlet or slides just to teach it. We need to teach it through content that will help make it more engaging for the students
Right.
too. All right, next
Right.
slide. PD should be like Burger King. Let them have it their way, kind of. So this is a big one. Yet knowing your audience and their needs before, I would definitely say a big one. I used to really know the temperature of the room. Um, I found out that when teachers are in groups, nobody wants to admit that they don't know how to use, say, like Google Drive, or how to comment on a Google Doc. But when I talk to them one-on-one, they'd be a little more willing to open up and say what they could and couldn't do. I would have to say, never assume that teachers know how to do stuff. And I've got to give a caveat there, that don't look at young teachers and think they know everything about technology, because they know how to use personal technology, but not always educational technology. And I'm an old dog. I can learn new tricks. So don't assume that your older teachers can't. Actually, sometimes they were my ones who wanted to learn the most, because they felt like they needed to keep up with the new teachers that were
I
coming
agree.
in. So also we put down here Google Classroom, because we did do a lot with flipped and blended learning, where we put the resources in the teacher's hands and they could pick and choose what they wanted to work on. I mean, I think the thing here is, respect that they're adults, know that adult learning is just like I used to think of my faculty like a fifth grade classroom. You had your trailblazers who you didn't have to give much to and could run with it. You had kids you had to do a medium amount with, and then you had to have the kids you had to hold their hand to get them to do stuff. Your faculty probably falls into all those same groups too.
Hmm. And again, you can use your book me with your teachers to form their PD, just like I was
Yep.
just sharing, being intentional. What do they want to know about? Sometimes you can have a whole grade level that want to plan a PD with you. Sometimes it's just one, and they just want, like Jackie was saying, just give me the link, give me a YouTube video, tell me someone to follow. I can do it myself. Um, we became pros at screencastifies, at
Mhm.
using Loom, at doing other screen recordings, like tutorials, and pushing them out. And then there are some teachers, and there are some things even with me, I need you to sit down and show me, like side by side. I need to see it. So it goes back to relationship building, knowing those teachers and knowing their needs and how they want to receive information. But with the Google Classroom, I think Jackie and I both enjoyed, I like to call it backdoor teaching. When you find that teachers are a little reluctant to have you come in, use a Google Classroom to push out the material to the students, get the students excited about that method or that tool or that way of going about using technology. And they're going to bug their teachers and tell their teachers all about what they're doing in that Google Classroom or the activities that they're learning about. And it's going to pique the teachers' attention and their curiosity. And they're going to eventually come to you and say, well, so and so was telling me all about Flipgrid. What is this Flipgrid? And I would do PD that way. We had to do a personal promise of what we promised to, almost a goal for our school year. Our district embraced our promise is. Well, this year I decided, since we already had to share our promise, everyone in the school, with our administration, we were going to share it with a tool that I was wanting to share with the teachers. So I pushed out directions on how to record their promise using Flipgrid, pushed it out during the email. So all of the teachers then received their task for the administration and a tool that I wanted the children to learn about. So it's kind of like that, slipping it in the back door type of way.
Yeah, sometimes you have to be kinda sneaky to get things in, but it works. And
It
then one
works.
thing that I learned was when somebody asked me for help, a question I learned to ask was, "Well, how would you like the information? Do you wanna sit down with me? Do you want a screen recording? Do you just want links? Do you want written directions?" Because I found out that some people like, I worked really hard making that whole series of videos on how to, link your blog with Google Drive, and I had this kindergarten teacher, she goes, "I loved your videos, but they didn't really work for me." And after I got over crying about it, I was like, "I worked on those for hours." She goes, "No, they're great, but I just need you to sit with me for 10 minutes and point and let me do it, and then it clicks in my head." And that was when I kinda had an aha moment, like, kids have different learning styles, so do adults.
And using that PLN, using that group, Jackie was fantastic with making the tutorials. She had the voice for the tutorials. I have the Southern accent. So I would make the infographics.
And she
Jackie
does
would
makes
use my
really good ones.
infographics, and I would use Jackie's tutorials. So, sharing resources, you don't have to make everything yourself.
That's very true because we did a lot of that, and of course, with Drive, we could share things, but yes, "Oh, I've got this about this. Can you share that with me?" So, yes, that was a big time saver too, and then, like you said, you weren't doing it all yourself. Alright,
Mhm.
next one. Teachers get bored easily. How'd you like me now? Like we use a lot of memes. The kids really respond to memes too, and sometimes that can turn into a quite an interesting teachable moment where you have them make a meme about something they've been learning about. Um, just making it fun still.
Yes, and there's a variety of extensions that you can get from the Chrome store, um, that allows you to create memes quickly and easily. But then you could turn it. We're a Google district. The students, you can have a lesson of how to properly take an image. Use an image with that is that you can edit and change, or how to take a picture of yourself, and in drawing, insert a text box, change your font, change the color so that there's a contrast, saving it as a PDF, saving it as an image file. So you can take this one thing of just using a meme to create humor and a kind of a hook at the beginning of a lesson, but then you can also use those memes that your students can create. Um, that whole thing is getting used to the different tools on a toolbar inside of Google. So you can stretch it and
Mhm.
run with the memes or just use a simple meme.
Yeah, turn anything into a moment where you can teach a technology skill as well as a standard, and you're getting way more bang for your buck. And then I had a teacher, she got moved from kindergarten to 3rd grade 2 days before school started, and she handled it with such grace, and she had not used Chromebooks before, and she would actually I would come in and teach her class, and she would sit there on her Chromebook just along with her kids and learned right along with them. So I think sometimes you can teach in all different ways. All right, next one. It's not you, it's me. Set boundaries. Um,
Hmm.
you want to say yes to everybody. You want to help everybody. But then you've also been told by your admin things you need to do. Then you have your district person coming asking you, have you done A, B, C, or D? So sometimes I think you have to get creative and find ways to combine tasks. And then sometimes you have to learn how to say no,
Hmm.
which is not easy because, we're people pleasers. We don't want to hurt people's feelings. And then, like Nikki said earlier, you hate to say that, no, that's not my job. But sometimes you have to find creative ways to say that because otherwise you'll get handed everything that nobody else wants to do.
I do not know how else to add to that.
Mic drop, boom, done.
That's it. That's it.
Um, Yeah, I had to do that several times and it was not enjoyable, but I had to just say, "No, I'm sorry, but that's not my job and I cannot do that right now." So, all right, we'll move on from that one. And then, oh, this is where you've just got to learn to it's never the same day twice. Embrace it. And, you just have to see the humor in it sometimes. Though I have to admit there are times we have called each other with like, "Can you believe?" Sometimes
Mhm.
you have to vent a little bit, but sometimes
Mhm.
you just have to know that it's never gonna be the same twice. And then, of course, the day that the board members are coming is the day that VBrick doesn't work. And so
Mhm.
always have a backup plan and, just learn to roll with the punches because if not, you will be stressed out 24/7.
I mean, and we're actually living that in the moment with this lovely hurricane coming towards the coast. I'm sitting in my
Yes.
car. Luckily, Google Hangouts works well on your cell phone. So being flexible,
Yes.
packing your patience, and a sense of humor will take you a long way. And then verbalizing that. My teachers, they know they live it every single day. Sometimes the Chromebooks work, sometimes the updates didn't completely go through, the smart board bulb blows, you have to figure out things. um, they know these things, so accepting it with grace and a bit of humor will take you a long way.
I think you summed that up beautifully, Nikki, because yeah,
Thanks.
it's just like teaching. It's something different every day. And you go in with the perfect plan, and at 3 o'clock, you haven't even touched that to-do list because all the other things that cropped up.
That's right.
Believe that was our last slide. Here are our Twitter handles and our email addresses, and also a QR code link to this presentation. Please follow us on Twitter and email us if you have any other questions. And I'm going to stop sharing right now. And we'll see what happens. Hold on. All right. And we are back on the Google Hangout. And Katie is muted right now. No, she's not. There she is.
There we go. I'm unmuted now. Okay. So guys, I've been collecting your questions that you've been sharing in the chat. So if you have any other questions that you think of or that came up throughout the webinar that you haven't shared in the chat, go ahead and share them now as we're talking through some of the last questions, but I will go ahead and ask them some of the questions that have come through. So first, Charity asked, how did you use that peer coaching book with teachers? I think it was Les Fultos, that was the author. It was on one of your slides.
Okay. Actually, that wasn't used with teachers. That was something that our bosses, the district TISs, we went through coaching cohorts. And that was the book that they got for us. And we went through it, and we had different exercises we had to do and assignments. And then we had to put a portfolio together, and we got renewal credit. Am I right, Nikki?
Yes, and I will have to say I am not a huge fan of professional books, but that
No.
is one that I promise is a very easy read. It's very relatable. Um, I did not mind reading that one at all. I actually did an interview with Mr. Foltos
That's
after that
right.
for his next book and for another article. But everything in that book, it was a major aha moment, and I could go right back to work the next day and put the previous chapter into practice.
And one cool thing that we had to do as part of our portfolio was the pitch video. Remember that, Nikki?
Yes.
And that was actually, we used tools that Richland too has subscriptions to WeVideo and VoiceThread. Of course, you could do this with other things. And we had, I actually think I used, oh, it's gone clear out of my head right now. I used a different program, but it was a pitch.
Powtoons.
That was it. Thank you. I used Powtoons, and it was just a pitch video that you could send out to teachers, because really, if they were new to your school, and especially new to the district, they probably hadn't had a technology and learning coach before for them to understand what you did. So it was another way almost to literally sell yourself to the teachers and have them understand what you were there to do and how you could help them.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Do you guys want to share the name of that book again one more time for anybody who's intrigued now that you've been talking about it?
Hold on.
I think it was Peer Coaching with Les Foltos, correct?
It is called, yeah, Peer Coaching and Les Foltos, Foltos.
And he actually has a Twitter handle as well. I think we had that on a slide. I highly
Yep.
suggest following him.
Is L Foltos.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so next question. Can you give some concrete examples of groups or places where we can connect with community? So that question came in when you all were talking about, being on your own island as an ed tech coach and building your PLN.
I think Nikki could probably do this, searching hashtags, right, Nikki?
Yes. I would search, like I said, I use TweetDeck, and I like it better on a desktop than on my phone. Usually I work straight from my phone, but on a desktop, if you use TweetDeck, you can search certain users or hashtags. And from there, when I would see the same Twitter handles pop up with people, well, with topics that interest me, I would follow that person. So Twitter was huge. One that's also kind of gaining momentum is people are starting, instead of just blogging, they're using Instagram
That's growing
to do.
popularity too.
Yeah, they're doing like just posting like pictures, so you can search Instagram for certain topics, and even Pinterest for things that interest you and you to follow. I know that Discovery Education has a group of like teachers and coaches and how they use the tools, and they do meetups in different places. I know like Go Noodle and Nearpod and a bunch of those other applications and tools. Once you go on their site, they have communities that you can follow. You don't have to even participate. I was a creeper, as I called, like my first 2 years at least, just kind of creeping, trying to get my feet wet on these different sites with different groups. But ISTE really, really helped getting the newsletters in there, having people comment on the threads. And like I said, sometimes I would read them, sometimes I was overwhelmed and I would just shut the email down or close out the web browser and go back the next day. But those are some of my favorites, Twitter
Also,
especially.
Twitter chats. That's another one, where they do them certain evenings at times and people post questions. I do quite a few of those I follow. And then sometimes if you don't have time to be there, you can go back and get the transcript for it. And I'd see, like Nikki said, the same people showing up. So I'd start following them because I liked what they were saying, and then seeing what they were following. And that was just it takes a little bit of digging and a little bit of work, but you'll start to find your people.
There's a hashtag for so many groups. There's like middle school chat, math chat, kinder chat, like the elementary chat is like ELEM chat. So just searching those hashtags will open up so much information.
Nice. And I'm going to add in one little extra plug for ISTE's Edtech coaches, PLN,
Yes.
connecting with us in the PLN area, that official PLN area that I went over at the beginning of the webinar, using the discussion boards to answer questions. And then also connecting with people on Twitter. I would say those are the two biggest places that our membership connect and network with one another virtually. Hashtag ET coaches. And then, of course, at the conference, we host a number of events where you can actually apply to present at. And then whether you present or not, you can attend and network with one another. So that by far, I would say for me, has been my biggest resource as a tech coach, as far as like my PLN and finding my people. And okay, next question that we have here. Let me see. So can you tell us the tool that you used for the Book Me tool? Again, some people said that they thought You Can Book Me, if that's the tool you're using, costs money now. So can you just tell us what tool you're using again?
It is. You Can Book Me, but is it not free anymore?
Yes,
Darn.
but there's limited pieces.
Yes.
Is youcanbook.me is the direct link or the direct site. I only operate on the free version. So everything that I share tonight that I do is available on the free version. The paid version allows you to put pillow times in between sessions, whereas the free version, you have to be mindful if your teachers are going to book you from 8 to 9, then 9 to 10. So just let them know that if there is a booking back to back, you may need 2 minutes to run from one hall to the next. So that was one of the differences with the paid and free. I think some of the templates, they have different formats that you could use.
They reduce what you get for free, but there is still a free version.
Yes.
Perfect. And then Nikki, will you quickly repeat those 2 questions that you said that you ask in your You Can Book Me form?
Yes. I ask them like the standard or objective that we'll be focusing on, like their academic area, and then what is their ideal outcome for the students at the end of your lesson.
Great, thank you. And then Kristen asked if you guys could share that last slide that you had again. I think it was the one maybe before your contact information. So I don't know, Jackie, if you still have the slides up.
Which one? The one before our contact information?
I think she threw that in there. And so, Kristen Kennedy, if you're still watching, if you want to clarify what you're looking for, but I think that came in when you were, I think it was the one right before your contact information. So the second to last slide.
The keep swimming, never the same day twice.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And I'll keep my eyes posted in the chat. So Kristen Kennedy, if you're watching, let us know what slide you were looking for again.
I pulled it up and shared it.
Great, thank you. And so while I'm waiting to see if she lets us know exactly what she's looking for, Misty Hall's asking, what is VoiceThread?
VoiceThread is a really cool program that lets you upload pictures and videos, and you can add written and voice comments to it. You can also record and use the pen tool to annotate while you're recording. My fifth graders would use it to demonstrate how to, like, say, add or subtract decimals. They make Google slides of the questions, and they would upload them into VoiceThread, and they would talk their way through the problem. And then also, like I said, use the pencil tool to annotate online. A subscription program, but I know it's not terribly expensive, and I do believe you can get a free trial for it too.
Awesome, thank you. I think we just have 2 more questions. that we'll have time for. So are there any conference or PD workshops that you would recommend for new instructional coaches fresh out of the classroom?
Well, if they could get the district. Go ahead, Nikki. Go ahead.
I highly recommend attending ISTE.
I was going to say,
but go into it. Jakki and I have attended every ISTE together.
yes.
So the first year was a little overwhelming because we didn't know what to expect, and it's humongous. So we quickly learned to go ahead and pick a focus, like 2 or 3 things that you really wanted to learn more about, whether it's makerspace, a certain tool, and building your PLN, and focus on those areas when pulling your sessions, and have a backup session for a backup session, because sessions fill up quickly. But we learned that poster sessions and playgrounds are the best place to go. Take pictures and read QR codes. I would take pictures and then tweet them out immediately with a hashtag. So at the end, I could go back and have a curated list of everything that I visited without having to take up too much time. And then to tag team it, Jakki would hit one end of an expo hall or a playground. I would go to another, and we'd gather information, share it on Google Keep.
So Google Keep was the best way that we did, because between the 4 of us who went last year, that's how we shared stuff. But I was going to say the same thing. ISTE, if you can get your district to pay for it, depending on where you are, that can get kind of expensive. Actually, the first Edtech, right, Nikki? We did Edtech.
Yes. Yeah.
South Carolina one, which probably would be less overwhelming for somebody fresh into the job, but that's a great place. I mean, and just also meet other people who do your job to hook up with.
Yeah. Follow the hashtag not at ISTE.
Yep.
And that one was created for people who could not attend ISTE, but people would add that hashtag to the end of their tweets. And you can get a lot of great information without even leaving.
And as long as you belong to ISTE, you can go back, and after the conference, you can actually go in, and most people post their presentations.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can still get resources that way too.
Yes.
Awesome. Great tips and advice, ladies. So I think that's all that we have time for questions today. These lovely ladies are on Twitter, so you can connect with them there and reach out to them. We do have, I've shared it in the chat, and then it's also on the screen now, bit.ly/ETC webinar feedback. And if you fill that out, if you are looking for some sort of a certificate of attendance for the webinar, that will automatically email you that certificate if you fill it out and include your email address. So that's how you can get that certificate. If you're going to use it for CEUs or you need it for any kind of PD stuff, you can do that there. Our next webinar is on October 9th, and it is Connecting with Tech-Resistant Teachers by Catherine Goyette and Adam Juarez. So if you want to register, I've also included the link to register for future webinars in there. And we look forward to seeing you in October. And thank you so, so much to Jakki and Nikki for such an awesome presentation tonight.
Thank you so much. And we look forward to helping anyone that would like to reach out to us.
Yes. Thank you, Katie.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful evening, everyone, and make it a great rest of the week.